Welcome to our double session, bond and stock valuation. So bond valuation is one of the important topics in finance, where we're looking at a debt instrument which is issued by a corporation or government. So there are 5 key characteristics that a bond must have. A bond must have a maturity value, which is also called the face value, or the nominal value of the bond, which is the stated value or the original price at which the bond was issued. We have a par value, usually 1,000 or 100, otherwise stated, which the one who's issuing the bond decides to sell it for. So in this context, the person issuing a bond is actually the one borrowing. All right, together. So we also have terms like the coupon rate and the coupon payment. So we have what we call coupon rate, which is simply the stated interest that the person pays. Okay, so the annual interest can be divided into 2. We have what we call a semi and an annual coupon rate. So coupon rate is the interest rate, for instance, 10%. So the percentage itself is what we call the coupon rate. Then when we multiply the coupon rate times the par value, we get capital I, which is called the coupon payment or the coupon value. So we have small I, which is a coupon rate. So the value of the bond formula itself gives you the characteristics. We have what we call the coupon value multiplied by the interest annuity factor rate against time. Then you multiply by the maturity value, which will be multiplied to the interest factor R against time. Now, as you can see, this is called a coupon bond. It's a major bond that we'll be discussing. So a coupon bond has what is called coupon interest. Now, this coupon interest is what we are actually interested in, how much I'm earning on this bond. So if I multiply this coupon interest times the maturity value, what I'm getting is capital I. This capital I is called the coupon what? Coupon value or the coupon payment. Right? Other books will use PMT, the same thing. Then we also have what we call the maturity value. This maturity value is actually the face value or the stated value of the bond. It's the same thing. If it's not given, the standard is what? 1,000. All right. Then we also have the interest factors and the annuity factors. So to find the interest factors, you can either use the table or the manual calculations. How do you find the interest factor? The present value interest factor rate against time is simply given by 1 over 1 plus R to the power n. That is our interest factor. Our present value interest annuity factor is simply given by 1 minus 1 plus R to the power negative n, everything over R. Or simply 1 minus the present value factor that we have just found there over the interest rate. So I want to really simplify your work as much as possible so that you don't go zigzag. So let's just delve into how to calculate the interest factors. If you have 10% and the time period is 3 years, let's calculate the interest factor manually and also using the tables. So I want us to calculate the interest factor, 10% under 3, and the annuity factor. So this will be 1 over 1 plus R to the power time. So here it will be 1 over 1.10 to the power 3. All right, what do we get quickly? we're going to get 0.751. This is the interest factor. The annuity factor, PVA, 10% against 3 is simply 1 minus the present value factor over the interest rate. So in this case, our interest rate is simply the 10%. So 1 minus answer divided by 10%. What we're going to get is 2.486 or 7 if you want. Are we together? Are we following? Because this is where the key is, understanding these interest factors. Are we together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm going to use the table, I will still get the same answers. So let's go into the tables and check. So the interest factor 10% under 3. Are you seeing that? We're getting 0.751. 10% under 3 for the annuity factor. We're going to get 2.487. It's the same thing. I really want you to be independent of the tables because sometimes the interest rates are given a little bit something else. So let's try it together. Suppose your interest rate was what? 7.5%, and you're told the time is 6 years. How do you find the interest factor? Who can lead us? Present value interest factor. 7.5%. Mwase, comma what? 6. Now we're going to have 1.075 to the power what? 6. Right together?
Yes, we are together.
Then the
Yes.
answer we're going to get is this figure. Then the present value annuity is simply 1 minus the present value factor over the interest rate. So 1 minus 0.648 divided by what is our interest rate? 7.5%. So we're going to get 4.69. So this is how we calculate the interest factors. Now, from time value of money, we know that semi-annually means 2. All interest rates, whether it is, we divide them by the number of compoundings. And if it's a time, we multiply it by the number of compoundings. So semi-annual means what? 2. So if we're given our interest rate as 8% and our time is given as 4 years. Let me use 5 years. And we're told this is semi-annual. So what happens to the interest of 8%? So it would be divided by 2. So instead of 8%, we're going to use what? 4%. Are we following? Then the time, we multiply it by 2 because we're using semi. So instead of 5 years to be, our period is N, which is 10. So meaning if we're going to read for the interest factor, we're going to read under 4% against what? 10. So this becomes,
Yes.
that's why we use it N like that. N does not mean these are 10 years now. The periods are 10 because we are compounding semi-annually. So this will be 1.04 to the power what? 10. So 1.04 to the power 10, then 1 divided by the answer, we're going to get 0.6755. So to get the annuity factor, it is simply 1 minus the present value factor over the rate. So 1 minus 0.6755 over the interest rate is 4%, 0.04. So 1 minus answer divided by 0.04. We're going to get 8.11. So having learned this bond valuation, now,
Mr. Collins,
yes, sir.
just a question. What if we're told to, instead of semi-annually, if it was quarterly?
So if it was quarterly, of course, for bond valuation, we end up to semi-annually, a semi-annual bond. For quarterly, our from our lesson time value of money, we understand that annually means 1, semi-annually means what? Twice, quarterly means what? 4 times, monthly means what? 12 times, weekly means what? 52 times, daily means 30 times, 365. So if it's quarterly, we divide the interest rate by 4 and multiply the time by 4. If it's weekly, 52. And as has been done there, that's the pattern that you follow. All right, together, all interest rates are divided, all times are multiplied. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So we have a coupon interest and we have a market rate. If the coupon interest is equal to the market rate, we call this a par bond. If the coupon interest which we're interested in is more than market rate, we call this a premium bond. If our coupon interest is now smaller than the market rate, we call this a what? A discount bond. Now, how do we tell if the discount bond, if we're not using the interest rates? So we said since par or the coupon, the face value is always 1,000, and you're also selling it at 1,000. You know this is at par. What you're selling is how much you bought it for. But if you're selling the bond for 1,200 and you bought it at 1,000, it's a premium bond. It's the value of the bond. This is the face value. But if you're selling the bond at 900 and you bought it for what? For 1,000, you're selling it at a loss. It's called a discount bond. Tulipamo? All right.
One more time. Just one more time.
So I'm trying to describe the types of bonds that are there. There's a par bond. It's a bond whose coupon interest is equal to the market rate. If the coupon interest is more than the market rate, we call it a premium bond. This is the ideal, the best. But if the coupon interest is less than the market rate, we call it a discount bond. Well, meaning we are selling at a loss. So we have a premium bond, par bond, discount bond. These are the versions. But we have what we call also a perpetual bond. Perpetual is simply what? A bond that never matures. It's simply given by our market rate over our coupon value over the market rate. This is called a perpetual bond, a bond that never what? Matures. Then we also have what we call a zero coupon bond. It's simply a bond that has no coupon value. It's simply given by the maturity value times the present value interest factor rate against time. Or simplified, it is simply the maturity value over 1 plus R to the power n. This is what we call a zero coupon bond. If you decide to forget the zero coupon bond, you can simply use the same general formula. The coupon value, the annuity factor, the face value, and the interest factor. But here, since it's 0% for the coupon, this one will just come out. There'll be 0 there. Just to come back to the same thing. All right. Now, let's get back to some business. Suppose we have a bond. The face value of this bond is 1,000. And the coupon interest is 8%. And the market rate is 10%. And this bond is a what? Is a 5-year bond, compounded annually. And we also compounded semi-annually, semi-annual bond. Let's calculate the values of these bonds. So who can help us? How do we find the value of the bond? Value of the bond is what? I, present value annuity, plus MV, present value factor. I'll just simplify this same thing that I gave you. The job of this guy is to calculate the capital I. So capital I is simply found by small I times what? Maturity value. So 8% to 0.08 times 1,000. What do we get? 8 chapel. So 8 is what we call the coupon value. Okay.
Collins, I have a question.
Yes, yes.
So the maturity value and the face value is one and the same thing.
Yes. The face
Because they're
value,
using them inter.
yes, I'm
Okay.
using them interchangeably. So the face value is the same as what? The stated value, the nominal value in form of fine. It's just the same thing. All right. All right. Then let's go to the maturity value, which is 1,000. Now, the job of this guy is simply to calculate the market values. All right. So let's start. We cannot find this if you're using the manual way before we find the other one. So let's start with the present value factor. It's simply 1 over 1 plus R, the power time. So our rate is, in this case, 10%. So 1.10 to the power 5. Can somebody quickly calculate that? It's 0.621. Here rise up. Right. Then we go to the annuity factor. 1 minus present value factor over R. So annuity factor always starts with a number. Interest factor always starts with a 0. Okay, so in case you are using a wrong table, at least your wrongness must be in a tolerable range that okay, and we be able to tell that okay, this one is away. So when you put that one, you can even confirm with your tables. I know some you can use the table way, it's still the same answer. So when you calculate that, we're going to get 924.28. So this is what we call the value of the bond. And what type of bond is this? It's a discount bond. For 2 reasons, it is smaller than the face value. Secondly, the coupon interest is less than the market rate. So this is a what? A discount bond. Are we together? Then we go to what is called the current yield. Current yield. So how do we calculate the current yield? The formula of the current yield is simply the coupon value over the value of the bond times 100. That is how we calculate our current yield. Now, what is a current yield? By definition, or what is its purpose? So current yield actually is an investment's annual income. Current yield is very important because it is used to examine the current price of the bond. Rather than looking at it from the face value, we are looking at the yield that represents the actual return that the investor would expect to earn. So it is a proportion of the coupon payments over how much the bond is selling for. All right. So here, what is our coupon value? 8. The bond is selling for 924.28 times 100. So 80 divided by answer, we're going to get 8.655%. So if you notice the test, it was marked the same script. Some of you were actually recalculating. So I'm shocked others were getting 100%, others were getting 97%, the same script that we did, others were getting as low as 90. So make sure you understand this. All right, then we go to what is called the yield to maturity. Sometimes you may not be given the market rate. Okay, before we go to the yield to maturity, sorry, we said semi-annual bond. So our coupon rate was what? 8%. Our market rate was what? 10%. And our time was what? 5 years. So now we're toward semi-annual. Can somebody tell me the effect of the semi-annual compounding on these three? What will happen?
They'll probably reduce by half.
The interest rates will reduce by half. So these two, and the KD, which is the market rate, will reduce by half, which is 5%, correct? And what happens to the time?
Please.
The time, from what I remember from your lesson, is that it will be multiplied.
Excellent.
We'll do 5 times 2.
Yeah, so the 5 years becomes 10 years. Then what is the job of this 4%? To become capital I. So small I times the maturity value, so 4% times 1,000 will be 40. Then what is the job of this 5%? To calculate the interest factors. So interest factor will be 1 over 1.05 to the power what? 10. I'm sure you're understanding where those figures are coming from. Okay. So here we have 0.614. Then the annuity factor will be 1 minus 0.614 over the interest, which is 10, not 10%, 5%. So 0.05. So 1 minus answer divided by 0.05, we get 7.72. So the value of the bond in this case will therefore be 40 times what? 7.72 plus 1,000. Please don't divide the face value. It's always maintained. That's one mistake that I've seen students making. So when you compute that, you're going to get 922.87. And how do we get the current yield? 40 over what? 922.87. All right. So this will give us 4.33%. That is our current yield. You know where the 40 is coming from and the 922. Are we together? Are we clear?
Yeah.
All right. Then sometimes you're not given the market rate. Then that is what we call the yield to maturity. Yield to maturity is simply the coupon payment plus our maturity value. We subtract the value of the bond over our N. This now we swap them here, 2VB plus maturity value over 3. Now, the period is the gestation period of a what? A bond. So suppose we have a 10-year bond, which is issued after 2 years. So meaning this bond has a period of 8. And this bond has a coupon interest of 10%, and the maturity or the face value is 1,000. Then we are told that the bond is selling for 1,200. Calculate the value of this bond. So the payment is the same as capital I. So here, what is our capital I? 10% of 1,000, which is 100. The maturity value is what? 1,000. The value is, the bond is selling for 1,200. It's a 10-year bond, which was issued after 2 years. So meaning the period of time is 8. So you're going to have 1,200 value of the bond plus 1,000 divided by 3. So when you compute this, you're going to get 6.6%. So this is what we call the yield to maturity. This question is there in my pamphlet. So I need that you go through the simplified version of it. All right, so this was a test which your colleague was just writing shortly. I will look at just question 1 with you, 10 marks. Then we will go to question number 2 after I teach stock valuation. A bond that was issued at par value 1,000. This is a what? A bond, a 10-year bond, and it was issued 3 years after being issued, and was selling for 1,300. This bond has a 10% coupon interest. Calculate the yield to maturity. So what are we given in this question? Can you identify 3 things? What are we given?
Market value,
The market value,
and the face value. And
Given, has been given.
Right.
The maturity value is how much? 1,000. The value of the
The
bond
interest rate,
is what? 1,300. Yes. What else? The N, 10 minus 3, which is what? 7. It's a 10-year bond, but was issued after 3 years. What else? The small I is 10%. So meaning capital I is 100. 10% of 1,000. Is that all we have? Yes. The rest, you calculate the value of the bond. I will not solve this, will be your homework. Anything strange from what I taught?
no. Are you able to go to the previous slide? Just for 1 second, I think I just capture it.
I'll send the video.
Hi, Collins. Just explain the N for me again.
So
On your next, just
the N is a period in which a bond lasts. So if you have a 10-year bond, which was issued after 2 years, so meaning the bond has been in period of operation for 8 years. So that's how we subtract 8 minus 2 from 10, it's 8 years. So it's a period. If it was issued and it started operation the year 0, so it's a 10-year bond, so the period is 10. All right?
okay.
Are we together? Is that clear? So in this case, the examiner was very clever, says it's a 10-year bond, but after 3 years of being issued, so meaning the period of time is 7. You get it?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Mr. Collins, just one thing that I missed on the previous slide.
Huh?
On the previous slide, able to go back to the previous slide.
Yes, please.
The PMT, what does it stand for?
PMT is the same as capital I, the coupon payment. Small I times capital I gives you, small I times maturity value gives you capital I. That's how we get our coupon payment. Are we together? All right. So if there are no questions,